It's like my brain is saying, you need to be doing it, but girl, I ain't got it. And I hate that for me. Hey guys, welcome back to Her Revision, the podcast for women who are rewriting the stories they tell themselves and that the world tells them. Today, we're getting into a sticky topic, and it is about giving yourself grace when you feel utterly unmotivated. Like you don't want to do anything at all. So imagine this, right? Maybe you were laser focused on a goal. You were telling yourself you're going to do this thing, or this has been something you've actively been working on or wanting to do for a while. And then next thing you know, it feels like the rug's been pulled up under you. You no longer have the same towards that goal. Like your determination to complete it, the new ideas, that same motivation is completely gone. And you have no idea how to get back to that point. That is me right now, but the only difference is I am aware that that is untrue. I am aware that the little voice in my head telling me to stop, to give up, that you can't complete it, that it's never going to happen, is not true. So let's talk about giving yourself grace. When I think of grace from a layman's terms, I imagine it being much more like a superpower. Allowing yourself to step outside of you as a person and see yourself in the lens of a third person. Seeing yourself the way that other people would possibly see you. Being able to say that you are human, you are not a machine, and sometimes it's okay to take a break or not have it all right now, not have the motivation, not have all these grand ideas at the moment. That's okay too. The way that I see it now is the more I try to fight that feeling, the more I try to hurry up and rush and create new ideas and new goals for myself so that I can stay, on top of everything, so I won't fall behind, so I won't feel like everybody else is ahead of me, is I give myself time. I give myself compassion, and that is such a hard thing to do. I did not realize before I really found out what grace was, and like I was really trying to be on the straight and narrow, that it is so much easier, and you can fight me on this, it's so much easier to give other people grace for me than it is to give myself grace. It's so much easier to give anyone else the benefit of the doubt. If somebody else around me may have had a goal or something that they were working on, or I know that they're really passionate about, and I can see that they've hit like this wall with it, it's so easy for me to be like, you got this. Like, give yourself compassion, give yourself grace. Don't talk down on yourself, don't talk bad about yourself. All you got to do is take a deep breath and relax. It is so easy for me to tell somebody else to do that. Why? Because I have the spirit of perfection in myself so deep that I cannot fathom not being able to push through this, not being able to get it together. Like, what are you doing, Jasmine? Like, you have so much potential. Do what you got to do, because if you don't, nobody else will do it for you. That's how my mind has been conditioned to think. And honestly, it might be a trauma response. I was talking to my therapist last week, and she was saying in our sessions, the one theme, if there is a word that she can think of as a theme for me since she's met me, it's been responsibility. Responsible, always feeling the need to be responsible. And then within that, that's me always staying on top of what I say I'm going to do. That's me always making sure that any goal that I've told people about, now I really got to execute it, because you will never catch me slipping. Like, you will never catch me saying I'm going to do something and I don't do it, or I fail and now you're looking at me crazy. That's me pressuring myself to always stay a step ahead of everything and everyone. And that's toxic. And not only is it toxic from an outside perspective and not being able to fail, or not seeing the beauty in failing if you just so happen to fall behind on your goals, but it sets an unrealistic standard for yourself that you always have to be on top. One of the things that I learned is that you learn a lot more at the bottom. And that sounds crazy. But there is something so raw about that learning process when you fail. Like, yes, you can learn a lot when you're at the top, when you've accomplished everything that you said that you wanted to accomplish, when you've done all the things, But when you are in a place where you haven't yet accomplished the things that you said you wanted to accomplish, there is a lesson in that. And I think at this point in my life right now, I decided to do this topic for the podcast because I literally have not been able to find a topic. I have not been able to sit in front of this camera and talk about anything. It's like my brain is saying, yeah, you need to be doing it, but girl, I ain't got it. And I hate that for me, but I am starting to realize that I think God is trying to tell me or teach me a vital lesson in patience. I was reminded just recently of 1 Corinthians 13:4, I believe, that talks about how love is patient and love is kind. It's not jealous or boastful or proud. And how sometimes we associate that specific scripture with love for other people and how we do give grace and compassion for others. But that scripture is also teaching me that self-love is just as important. In order for you to get to where you are supposed to get to, you have to be able to show yourself that same love, that patient love, that kind love. You can't beat yourself up because you don't have any ideas, or you might have backpedaled. Now you're one step behind the goal that you wanted. You cannot beat yourself up because it took you longer in school than it took other people. You cannot beat yourself up because you see happy relationships all around you, and where you envision yourself in your 20s is not where you are. You cannot beat yourself up because of that. I think for me, because I look at the Bible and I look at God as such a tool for me navigating through life, it is the spirit of truth. The Bible itself to me is the spirit of truth. And within that, it is also a navigation tool for how I get through life, of how I will actually get through the purpose that God has for me, how I will fulfill the purpose that God has for my life. But within doing so, I have to realize that a lot of the times it's not going to be a straight line. You being able to complete every goal, every checklist that you got towards that specific goal and the timeline that you want to have it in is not realistic. One, because at certain checkpoints, God has something to show you. But the things that he has to show you, a lot of the times we're not prepared for it at that moment because we are human, because we make mistakes, because we make decisions out of flesh, that we have to accomplish a certain thing within our spirit, within our mind, that doesn't necessarily align with that checkpoint that you have. And I think that's where I am. Life has been happening. A lot of the things outside of my goals and outside of the things that I want to accomplish have been happening. And it has been pushing me back in my mind as if I'm no longer close to where I want to be. That maybe the purpose that I thought I had for myself is not it. So now I'm doubting myself. Like, well, maybe God didn't tell me to do this. But why didn't he? Because you're not aligning at this moment, because the things that you thought that you would have right now hasn't happened. Like, if I could step outside of myself and shake me a little bit just to remind myself that it is going to happen regardless of the timeline that you put on yourself. God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. So just know that you're going to get those qualifications. You're going to reach all the goals that you have for yourself, that God has for you in due time, in due season. And maybe you don't have the motivation right now to do or be who you imagine you should be right now, or what you think you should be doing right now. But that doesn't mean it's never going to happen. That doesn't mean that this downtime that you're having will be in vain. And I'm learning that when I do have moments of downtime like now, instead of trying to force myself to come up with all these core concepts, instead of trying to force myself to push out content, instead of trying to force myself to be the best at whatever my craft is, I am learning the gift of finding alternative calm goals for myself. And hear me out, because it's probably gonna sound a little off. For me, that looks like I might not be able to push out a lot of content right now because I just don't have it in me. And I don't want to overwhelm myself having to deal with life and having to deal with this spirit of perfection that I've put on myself. And while I try to kill that spirit, I also need to find things that still fulfill me, that still give me that sense of patience, that sense of kindness towards myself, even while I may not be close to the goal that I initially had. So for me, that looks like reading, going back to my first loves of reading, of painting, of listening to jazz music. And to each his own, whatever your thing is what your thing is. But for me, those things, though they may be a step away from the actual goals that I have for myself, for having a podcast, that is reaching thousands and millions, from having a TikTok that is also doing the same, from writing a book, or whatever my goals for myself are, and insert your own. I do think that me taking a step back and doing those outside things that I enjoy also will help me. And you think, like, how can, if I'm trying to go to school and I'm trying to get my degree, how can me, I don't know, doing a jigsaw puzzle help me towards that goal? It doesn't match up, sis. And you're right. It doesn't. But it may. I think that when I take the time to show myself that patience, to show myself a little bit of grace, anything that I may be doing that helps me with that can possibly gain me clarity, can possibly give my mind the opportunity, my spirit the opportunity to calm down to a point where I might be able to see differently. Ideas may come to me while I'm building a puzzle, while I'm reading my book. You just never know. So trying to be on goal at all times honestly may cause you more burnout, from you not being able to take a step back, from you getting out of that thought process that if you do slow down, or if you just breathe for a second, that you're going to lose. Knock it off. It's not going to happen, friend. I promise you. You just have to know that God is still God. What He has for you, what your goals are, what you have planned to do with your life, or the things that you have put in place for yourself, whether that is school or a business or whatever it may be. You taking some time to yourself, you taking some time away from what may be a roadblock right now, you can gain clarity from that if you do it with compassion, if you give yourself kindness and patience. That sounds crazy, but talk to yourself nice. Talk to yourself nice. I think sometimes the most important thing that you can do for yourself is be present. Acknowledge how you're feeling. Breathe. And I've been so hard on myself, telling myself, girl, get up. Reminds me of the Sarah Jakes sermon she did, girl, get up. And that is true, but you also have to know, I feel like for me, you also have to understand the beauty of rest. Stop pushing yourself so hard, especially if you're not there. I feel like pushing yourself is good when you are in the right headspace, when you may not be like overwhelming yourself or feeling this sense of anxiousness or feeling this sense of depression. Like, you have to take care of you first before your goals can take care of you. If I'm not taking care of Jasmine, whatever goal that I have, to have a book, to have a nationally syndicated podcast, will happen. But if I'm not taking care of myself first, those things will never be able to take care of me, because I'll never be able to get them exactly where they need to be to blow up. If you can't take care of you, that degree won't be able to take care of you. Because if you are always feeling anxiousness, if you're always feeling overwhelmed and you can't catch a break, what do you think will happen after you graduate? How will you survive? How will you learn coping mechanisms? Because life's only going to get harder. And that's what I'm starting to realize. Life will get harder. But if you are doing it right, if you are keeping yourself rooted in the spirit, keeping yourself rooted in the word, you'll be able to come out of it with the tools needed to navigate life. And let's also talk about the other side of that, right? Maybe rest is needed, but also maybe if you're hitting a roadblock, it may be a sign to you to be more intentional with your craft, to be more thoughtful in how you do whatever it is that you are doing, to whatever your goal is. Maybe you've been trying to win or been trying to accomplish your goals like somebody else. Maybe you saw other people doing the same exact thing that you want to do, and now you look at them and think, oh, I should do it like that because that person has been getting a lot of traction. That person has been succeeding. People love them. Maybe this feeling that you're feeling, this roadblock that you're at, maybe it is God's way of telling you that you have to find your own way. You can't be like everybody else. You have to be intentional with your craft. Maybe you're feeling this anxiety, this feeling that you're feeling because you are so used to seeing everybody else win, and you want that. So now your brain is in overload because you think, what can I do to be like that? What can I do to have that? So maybe it's not saying give up on your dreams. Maybe it's saying take a moment to reassess the reason why you're doing it and how you're doing it. And find out how to make it authentically you. Not authentically other people, not what's trending, none of that. How to make it authentically you. Because if I learned anything about having goals, especially because there are so many goals that we all share in this world in common, if I've learned anything, the people that really do make it, the people that are successful, they found something within that goal to make it uniquely theirs. They found a way. There are 1,000 people doing the same thing, and that specific person found a way to make it uniquely theirs, to the point where somebody that is outside of a fan of theirs or whatever the case may be, can identify that thing because it's you. Not because, oh, the product, not because, oh, the business, not because, oh, the degree, but because of you. So reassess how you're doing it. Reassess how to make it you. It don't matter if 10 people grab onto it. It don't matter if nobody watches it. Maybe it's just your mom. Maybe it's just your family. Maybe it's just your best friend. It's okay. Because God's purpose for you will catch on. You just have to be patient. So let's rewrite this story. You are not behind, friend. You are exactly where you need to be in this moment. Embrace the grace. Embrace the patience, the intentionality. Your purpose still matters. The goals that you have still matters. The gift that you have still matters. This may just be the perfect moment for you to reassess with fresh eyes. So I'm gonna wrap this up because I honestly don't want to be long-winded, and I'm trying to sit in the thought process that perfecting my craft sometimes means not overdoing it. Okay, tidbit for you, sometimes less is more. Sometimes it's the quality and not the quantity. So we're gonna stop this right now. So thanks for joining me. Until next time, remember, you are worthy, you are strong, you are powerful, and you're more than capable of rewriting your story one choice at a time, friend. You're watching Her Revision with Jasmine Lachey. Bye.